Hi, guys, and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti, and today we're going to be talking about the ultimate winter reading list. Now, I know that Western BookTube and BookTok and Bookstagram love to romanticize the fall season. They have all of these like fall TBR and like all of these aesthetic videos related to autumn because they actually get an autumn season. I personally think this time of the year, once Diwali is done, once all of the festivals are done, the lights are gone from the streets and people have stopped bursting firecrackers, this is the perfect time in India to read some extremely atmospheric, moody kind of reads because the weather's getting better. Honestly, guys, the weather in Bombay right now is so good. I mean, like, I just feel like wrapping myself up in a blanket with a hot drink and reading all of the atmospheric things. So if you're feeling this way too, because the weather has gotten really good where you live, and if you want to read some things that will just like transport you to some atmospheric, maybe dark, maybe creepy, maybe romantic, but definitely atmospheric type of worlds, then here are some book recommendations for you. The first one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Now, hear me out. I said with my own mouth and my own words on this channel that I would never read this book. And then after that, a few of you actually DM'd me and told me that I would love this book, that I'm judging it based on other people's opinions, and that like I should read it for myself to figure out because they thought that I would love this book. And you guys were right. You guys were absolutely right. I actually did really, really enjoy this book. Now, this book basically follows our main character, Addie LaRue, who makes a deal with the devil. And she basically sells her soul in exchange for essentially like immortality. She can live forever and she can live life on her own terms, but at the cost of nobody in her life ever remembering her. And it basically follows her life until she meets a guy who actually does remember her, and then her life changes. Now, there are issues with this book. Firstly, I think the main character, Addie LaRue, is one of the most uninteresting characters ever written. Like, for a person who's made a deal with the devil and who's living forever, I felt like her character would be a lot more interesting and would be like there would be a lot of stories that she would share that were just extremely like I don't know, at least gripping. But her POV, her parts of the book for me were the most boring. But it's made up for because the second character in this book, who is Henry, who is the boy who she meets, who remembers her, his point of view is everything. I loved the way V.E. Schwab wrote Henry's character, the exploration of mental health and depression and loneliness and just everything through Henry's POV, and then his relationship with Addie, and also the way that the devil is written. It's immaculate. It's really good. I absolutely, absolutely loved it. I highly recommend it. Next, we have the Emily Wilde books. Now, these are quintessential winter reads because they literally take place in like parts of the world that are cold, that are like magical, and that are also kind of scary because they're full of these like magical creatures who essentially want to control you and or kill you. So the first one is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and the second one is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I feel like if you can picture this like absolute fairyland with like toadstools, with just like magical forests full of like magical creatures and like moss growing on trees, and if you want to be transported to that type of place, then these are the books for you. I feel like these are books that really make you understand the scariness of like fairy lore. Like there are so many fantasy books that talk about fairies as like these hot, amazing characters who you want to date. But actually, like if you really look into the lore of what fairies were and the way they impacted human beings, like that is some scary shit. And this book explores that, but also in a very like fun and just magical way. So it's very interesting. It's very, very atmospheric. The main character in this book, Emily Wilde, she's a scholar, she's super nerdy, and she basically falls in love with a man who is like just bright and like sunshine. So it's like a grumpy sunshine a romance where the woman is the grumpy, like sullen one, and the man is like the sunshine. He's kind of like uptight and high maintenance, but also just really sassy and witty. So it's a fun ride. I really, really enjoyed these first two books. And I think the third book came out this year and I haven't yet got into it. So that is on my list as well. The next one is The Six Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow. Now, this book is a 30-page short story. And when I tell you that in 30 pages, this book has great character development, has great world building, and is an amazing epic fantasy, I don't think you will believe me. But trust me, if you have 20 minutes in your life to pick up this book and read it, I highly, highly urge you to do so because it's 30 pages and the story, the development in these 30 pages blew my mind. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's literally 30 pages. Like, what am I supposed to say about the plot of this book? Because if I like start explaining it, I'd literally have to tell you the entire plot. But just understand that it is an epic fantasy and it explores themes of love, of identity, of duty, of prophecy, and like rebirth. All of this in 30 pages. I know it sounds crazy, but it is one of the best short stories, if not the best short story I have ever read. And I think it's perfect for this time of year. Grab yourself a nice, like, hot chocolate and spend 20 to 30 minutes reading this book. You will not regret it. Trust me. When it comes to thrillers and mysteries, I feel like the only books that you should read during this time of the year are Agatha Christie books. Honestly, all of the Hercule Poirot books are just perfect for this time of year. But if there is one Agatha Christie book that's not Hercule Poirot that I think you should read, you've probably already read it. But if you haven't, what have you been doing with your life? And that is And Then There Were None. This book is just the best closed room murder mystery I have ever read. It's one of those murder mysteries where you basically are trying to solve it as the investigation is going along, because Agatha Christie has literally left clues everywhere. But even after you read the clues that she's left in the book, it is impossible to solve because this book and the plot twist are just everything. It is such a good book, and I feel like it's one of the best mysteries ever written because it's literally 10 people on an island, and one by one each of them die. So clearly one of them is the murderer, but you're not able to figure it out. It's so good. Highly, highly, highly recommend. If you haven't read an Agatha Christie book in your life, this is the one that you need to start with. The next one is Look Closer by David Ellis. This was a 5-star thriller for me because it just kept me guessing throughout the book. If you have watched Drishyam, the Indian movie Drishyam, so either the Hindi version or the South Indian version, whichever one, if you watched this movie and you liked it, I think you'll really enjoy Look Closer, because essentially in this book it's not important who the killer, who the perpetrator is. What's important is how they've done the crime. And so it's kind of like an exploration, or like the investigator really like peeling back how this like perfect crime was committed. And it's so interesting because you're also trying to figure it out as you're reading the book. You're like, okay, how could they have done this, how could they have done that? And then when it's actually revealed, it's like, oh my god, how did they do it? Like, how did they do that? It'll keep you guessing. I finished reading this book, I think, in like a day, and it was during one of the many reading slumps I've had this year, and I binged it. It was really, really interesting and highly recommended. If you like very like twisty and gripping thrillers that are not like scary or gruesome, then you will like this one. Next one is Rouge by Mona Awad. This book feels like you're walking through a fever dream. Like, there is no other way for me to explain it. This book is, it's like you feel like your brain is like fogged over by some drug when you're reading this book. It is so bizarre. It is so weird, but it is so gripping because of that. This book basically follows our main character, Belle, who comes back to California because her mother has passed away and she has to like basically settle her mother's affairs. And while she's doing that, she kind of realizes that her mother has been caught up with a beauty cult. And now Belle has found herself wrapped up with that cult as well. and she needs to escape because her life is in danger. This book is extremely atmospheric, the language is poetic, but what makes it amazing is through this extremely creepy, like horror story, the author has essentially explored the evils or like the dark side of the beauty industry, because what the author is trying to say is how the beauty industry kind of feeds off of our insecurities, and how it's basically making money off of us essentially hating ourselves and wanting to change ourselves. And that exploration is so well done in this book. The metaphors that the author has used is just brilliant, and I really, really enjoyed that part of it. So if you want like a thought-provoking, creepy horror story, I highly recommend this one. I don't know what it is about the winter season that makes me want to read books which are set in academic institutions. I don't know. Maybe it's just that, like, every single TV show we have watched, which deals with like college or high school or whatever, all of their academic years start in the fall and they're all wearing like these cozy sweaters, and it just seems like this very like cozy atmosphere in these like gothic universities. So I don't know if it's that influences my reading taste, but I love me a good academic fantasy or like book which is set in an academic institution, and I love reading them during the winter. And so I have some recommendations. The first one is The Will of the Many by James Islington. Now this is a fantasy book that honestly reminded me so much of Harry Potter and the Hunger Games. So basically, if Harry Potter and the Hunger Games had a baby and this baby grew up to be a brooding adult, then that baby would be The Will of the Many. It's such a good fantasy book. It basically follows our main character, Vis, who finds himself at the bottom of this hierarchical society where the people at the top of the hierarchy literally suck the energy and souls from the people below them to stay in power. So it's a very corrupt, very like cannibalistic kind of society where the powerful are literally sucking the souls of the people below them. And Vis basically he finds himself in the most elite academy within this society, and he's trying to firstly find out secrets about what's going on and like uncover a conspiracy, but also he's trying to break it down from within. So it's really good, it's really interesting. It's the first book of a series and the second book has just come out, so I'm very, very excited to read it. But it's just a really good academic fantasy, and if you've loved reading like Harry Potter when you were younger, you might really like this book as an adult. The next one is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I've spoken about this book, I think, a lot on my channel. It is such a gripping, mysterious, dark academia book. It's one of those books that, like, you should go into it not knowing anything about it because it is so weird and it will leave you confused for the first 50 to 60 pages. Like, you will not know what is going on when you're reading this book for the first time. But I urge you to stick around to keep reading it, because as the mystery unfolds and as you get to know more and more and more about the conspiracy and why the main character has found themselves in this situation, it's going to blow your mind, and it's amazing, and it's so, so, so gripping. If you guys want even more motivation to read this book, then I'm reading this book with my book club called The Fellowship in December. And so if you want some like help, and like if you want to read this with a club that's full of bookish nerds who love to deep dive into books and talk about their themes and talk about like what they liked, what they didn't like, characters, everything, then please hit the join button that's below and join my book club, because we have a really fun time. This month we're reading Jaya, which is great. We're deep diving into the Mahabharata. And next month in December, we're going to be reading Piranesi. So I hope you guys come along. It's going to be an amazing time. And next is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is another dark academia type of book, but it has some supernatural elements to it, which make it creepy, which make it perfect for this season as well. It basically is set at Yale University, and it follows our main character, Alex, who has stumbled upon a crime. Basically, a student at Yale has gotten murdered, and Alex's ability to basically see the dead or talk to like beings beyond like basically supernatural beings who have like crossed over. Her ability to do that gives her a unique position to help solve the crime. And along with this book also explores these like secret societies within Yale, all of them which deal with the occult in some way. And so it's just a very creepy, very dark type of book. There are a lot of dark themes in this, by the way, so please read the trigger warnings before you dive in, because it does delve into some very dark and disturbing themes. It's a very dark, it's a very creepy academia related book, and it's very interesting. So again, highly recommended. And lastly, I want to talk about some books which are on my priority TBR for this year. I haven't read these books, but I really, really, really want to. The first one is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Now, I have read, I think, the abridged version of Frankenstein when I was a kid in school, but I've never read the whole book, like the full book. And I really want to read it because I also really want to watch the movie, the new Netflix movie by Guillermo del Toro, because Guillermo del Toro, I feel, is a mastermind when it comes to crafting like gothic movies. He just has this very like artistic flair when it comes to like making gothic movies. And so I really want to watch that adaptation, but I want to read the whole book, the full version of the book, before I jump into the movie. And so that's why Frankenstein is number one on my list. I've already started reading it and I'm really enjoying it. So that is one. The second one that I want to read is Girl Dinner by Olivia Blake. Now, Olivia Blake is an author I discovered this year, and I have fallen in love with her writing style. She has this very like weird stream of consciousness type of writing style where it almost feels like a ramble, but there is a point to the ramble. She's extremely witty. Like the way she writes is very, very witty, but she is an acquired taste. Not a lot of people like her writing style. Not a lot of people like the way that she writes her prose. But if you do, if you can manage the sort of like rambly writing style, if you like her like wittiness, then you will really enjoy her books. I read Masters of Death and Gifted and Talented this year, and I really fell in love with the way she crafts like stories and characters. And so I really want to read her latest one, which is Girl Dinner. This is supposed to be a horror book, and it's supposed to have themes of, I think, like cannibalism, and I don't know if it deals with vampires. I'm not sure what it is, but it just sounds very interesting. But it has themes of female rage and cannibalism, which is amazing. So very, very interested in Girl Dinner. The next one that I want to read is The Strength of the Few by James Islington. I spoke about The Will of the Many just before in this video, and this is the second book, and I'm very, very excited to read more. And the last one is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is another fantasy book, and it's basically a take on Sherlock Holmes and Watson. So the main characters in this book are based off of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. So I'm guessing it's like a fantasy murder mystery, which I think is like perfect for this time of the year. And what I've heard is like the friendship between the two main characters in this book is very sweet, and it's really lovely the way it's explored. And I think the person who is the Sherlock Holmes character archetype is like an old woman. And her assistant, who is Watson, is like younger. And so I don't know. I just feel like that dynamic will be really fun to read. So I'm very, very excited. So yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Like I said, I have a book club called The Fellowship, a members only book club. So hit that join button down below if you want to join. It's really, really fun. And yeah, subscribe if you like videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.